Dass unser Körper altert, lässt sich bisher noch durch nichts verhindern. Alle Organe altern. Stetig und unaufhaltsam. Im Inneren jeder Zelle tickt eine Uhr. Und mit jeder Zellteilung rückt das Ende näher. Der Zahn der Zeit macht sich an den Enden der Chromosomen bemerkbar, an speziellen Abschnitten, den Telomeren. Mit jeder Teilung werden sie, zunächst unbemerkt, ein Stück kürzer. Irgendwann nähert sich der Prozess einer kritischen Grenze. Wird sie unterschritten, stellt die Zelle ihre Teilung ein. Sie altert und stirbt letztendlich. Wie beim Vervielfältigen eines Fotos schleichen sich nach und nach Fehler ein. Auch Zellen, die sich schon oft geteilt haben, tragen häufiger Fehler im Erbgut als jüngere Zellen. Häufen sich mit der Zeit die Schäden, können Krankheiten wie Krebs entstehen. Sauerstoff. In jeder Zelle entstehen durch ihn, bei der Zellatmung, reaktionsfreudige Moleküle, freie Radikale. Die jugendliche Zelle hat aber ein Gegenmittel, sogenannte Antioxidantien, die die Radikale unschädlich machen. Die Zelle altert, wenn den anfallenden Radikalen immer weniger Radikalfänger gegenüberstehen. So werden wichtige Zellbestandteile in der gesamten Zelle attackiert. Dieser oxidative Stress lässt die Zellen altern. Kann die Zelle die massiven Schäden durch die Radikale, vor allem an der Erbsubstanz, nicht mehr reparieren, so wird sie krankhaft verändert oder geht zugrunde. Schon seit Mitte des 20. Jahrhunderts stehen die Radikale im Verdacht, den Verschleiß unserer Zellen zu verursachen. Und seitdem läuft die Suche nach einem Mittel, das diesen Alterungsprozess verzögern könnte. Die Heilsbringer waren schnell benannt: Vitamine. Vitamine sind tatsächlich hervorragende Radikalfänger. Und wem die Vitamine in Obst und Gemüse nicht reichen, greift zu Konzentraten aus der Retorte. 15 Millionen Deutsche nehmen regelmäßig Vitaminpräparate und das gerne in hohen Dosen, nach dem Motto: viel hilft viel. Der zweifache Nobelpreisträger Linus Pauling knüpfte in den 1960er Jahren an die Theorie vom oxidativen Stress an. Er stellte die Hypothese auf, dass extrem hohe Vitamin-C-Gaben nicht nur Erkältungen vorbeugen, sondern sogar vor Krebs und Alterserscheinungen schützen können.
I take 18 grams per day, well, a level spoonful.
Er nahm täglich 4 gestrichene Teelöffel davon. Das entspricht dem Vitamin-C-Gehalt von etwa 300 Orangen. Pauling wurde immerhin 93 Jahre alt. Die Vorstellung, dass hohe Dosen gut seien, hält sich bei vielen Vitaminpräparaten bis heute hartnäckig. Da Vitamin C wasserlöslich ist und Überschüssiges ausgeschieden wird, besteht keine Gefahr bei Überdosierung, so die Überzeugung. Doch ganz so einfach scheint es nicht zu sein. Neuere wissenschaftliche Untersuchungen zeigen, dass in bestimmten Fällen zu hohe Vitamin-C-Dosen sogar schaden können. Die Wirkung kann offensichtlich umschlagen. Die bittere Erkenntnis: Gerade bei Krankheiten, die mit oxidativen Schäden in Verbindung gebracht werden, wie etwa Krebs, ist der Einsatz umstritten. In einer Studie in der Krebstherapie führten hohe Dosen Vitamin C sogar zu fatalen Folgen. Das Vitamin hielt die Krebszellen am Leben. Vitamintabletten sind kein Ersatz für die Inhaltsstoffe von Obst und Gemüse. Es fehlt ihnen das natürliche Zusammenspiel mit anderen Inhaltsstoffen, wie bei einer ausgewogenen Ernährung. Die Wirkung natürlicher Radikalfänger lässt sich nicht so einfach imitieren. Die Natur ist komplizierter.
Wer hätte das gedacht? Bei aller Forschung, der Apfel hat gewonnen. Und der englische Volksmund, der wusste das schon immer. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Obst und Gemüse sind die besten Helfer gegen oxidativen Stress.
It has become common knowledge that we are facing a healthcare crisis in America. We have tens of millions of Americans with no health insurance, and we are continuing to use an outdated model with our approach to disease. There is mounting evidence and growing hope, however, that this model is changing. The concepts of prevention and wellness are now being recognized as the future of healthcare. This awakening is being spearheaded by people like the man you're about to meet. Trained as a physician, he became one of the world's leading authorities on infectious disease. Dr. Dubois has been practicing medicine for over 40 years. He served as president of the Georgia Society of Internal Medicine, as the president of the Infectious Disease Society of Georgia, and he has been included on the list of the best doctors in America. His scientific curiosity has led him to recognize the importance of fruits and vegetables and whole food nutrition as keys to better health and disease prevention. I am so privileged to introduce to you the Juice Plus family doctor, Dr. Richard Dubois.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you. Thank you. It is so good to be here. Thank you. Let's talk about the power behind Juice Plus. Juice Plus is whole food nutrition from whole food sources. Think of it as Mother Nature's bounty in easy-to-swallow, convenient capsules. The powders in Juice Plus capsules are made from vine-ripened fruits, vegetables, and produce. Juice Plus contains no insecticides, no herbicides, no preservatives. But what sets Juice Plus apart from everything else is science. You see, Juice Plus has been subjected to brand name science and research that's been published in peer-reviewed medical manuscript. And the reason that science is so important is because good health is not just good luck or good genes. There's science behind good health. There are scientific reasons why some people are healthy and others are not healthy. And the essence of that science is whole food nutrition from fruits and vegetables. You see, plants contain thousands and thousands and thousands of ingredients known as phytochemicals. And the key is Mother Nature doesn't really care how much of any one of them are in her fruits and vegetables. The key is that she's got all of them in there. And the important factor is that our body knows what to do with them when we eat them. They work in synergy. They work together, a system of checks and balances. And our body knows what to do when that gets in there. And that's why countries all over the world encourage more fruits and vegetables. They're trying to decrease the burden of disease and the expensive treatment of disease on the population. The U.S. dietary recommendations, published in February of 2005, call for the average American to get 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Recognizing that a serving is slightly smaller than your fist, you understand why most Americans cannot or will not get those 9 servings. So many turn to vitamin supplements. And let me tell you, the literature is now very complete and very compelling. Isolated vitamins, multiple vitamins, especially man-made and artificial vitamins, except for rare circumstances, have not been shown to prevent disease. And in many situations, they've actually been shown to increase disease, to cause harm. And that's because they're no comparison to Mother Nature's balance, Mother Nature's breadth and depth of those nutritional elements, those ingredients, thousands of them that work together physiologically in our bodies. Now, I mentioned that there's science behind Juice Plus, and it's important to note that Juice Plus makes no claims to treat or prevent any specific disease, but the research is very compelling. Juice Plus significantly impacts those aspects of physiology that cause aging and cause disease. Now, the first studies that were done, scientists knew what was in Juice Plus, but they wanted to see if when you eat Juice Plus, does it actually get into your bloodstream? So that's a thing called bioavailability. So studies done in the United States and Europe confirmed Juice Plus ingredients actually get into the bloodstream when you eat it. Now, those initial studies were what they call pilot studies. But the gold standard of research requires 4 things. Must be prospective, must be randomized, must be placebo-controlled, and must be what they call double-blinded. Since those pilot studies, subsequent research on Juice Plus have met the gold standard of research. And those gold standard studies on multiple continents still confirm Juice Plus is bioavailable. Now, why should it be bioavailable? Because it can't do any good in the body unless it gets into the body. And it impacts those aspects of physiology once it gets in the body. First aspect we're going to talk about is this thing called oxidative stress. We have to maintain 98.6 degrees. We have to burn fat and sugar all day, every day, even when we're asleep. And that burning generates sparks. And there are billions of those sparks every day in all of our cells. And they bombard our system from the inside out, doing damage. The only way to neutralize that oxidative stress is with antioxidants from plant-based nutrition. This is so important that the New England Journal of Medicine did a review on this and summarized all of the literature. And our normal metabolism produces these toxic molecules called free radicals that damage our internal molecules, and the bottom line is aging, disease, and death. And it's the antioxidants that impact those free radicals. And think of what you have there. Only two variables. What's the rate of the metabolism? What's the integrity of the antioxidant system or cascade? And an imbalance in either way influences the bottom line, aging, disease, and death. So oxidative stress is important. So researchers in Texas, in London, and in Sydney looked at Juice Plus specifically and found that, yes, it did. Not only was it bioavailable, it did reduce oxidative stress. And what they were looking at were fats, lipids in the bloodstream becoming oxidized from the metabolism. So they wondered, could Juice Plus protect DNA? And that would be important because, you see, if you damage your DNA, you increase the risk of having a mutation. And as you know, mutations lead to cancer. And if you damage the DNA and chromosomes, particularly the tips of the chromosomes, you increase the rate of aging. And not only do we want to not increase the rate of aging, we would all like to slow down the rate of aging. So the teams of researchers at Brigham Young University and at the University of Arizona looked at a group of elderly population, average age 68, and confirmed that Juice Plus reduced DNA damage. Now, these were elderly people, and like most elderly people, they had fairly weak immune systems. So during the study, they confirmed that Juice Plus significantly enhanced multiple parameters of these immune systems in these elderly patients. Now, they confirmed that Juice Plus reduced the DNA damage in those elderly patients, but at the University of Florida, in a gold standard of research, confirmed Juice Plus also reduces DNA damage in otherwise healthy college students. Another aspect of physiology, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. As you know, it leads to type 2 diabetes. Epidemic in the United States now. Researchers at Yale University are currently looking at people with metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance in a gold standard of research to see what Juice Plus will do to impact their physiology. As you know, diabetics and people who don't have diabetes can have serious problems with their circulation. Our circulation has to remain flexible and responsive. We have to change our blood pressure with getting up from a sitting position to a standing position. After a meal with exercise, our circulation has to be responsive. Researchers at the University of Maryland discovered and proved that a high-fat meal could seriously impact negatively the ability, the flexibility, and responsiveness of our circulation for over 4 hours. And they also substantiated that Juice Plus significantly reduces the toxicity of that high-fat meal on the flexibility and responsiveness of our circulation. Now, if you look at this on a cellular level, that responsiveness is governed by a thin layer of cells on the inside of every blood vessel. It's called the endothelium, and the muscle wall around the outside of it. And physiologically, on a cellular level, that's called endothelial function. And so part of the research, as a follow-up to the study at the University of Maryland, the study at Yale University is also looking into the impact of Juice Plus on endothelial function. Now, we're talking about circulation. As you know, cholesterol plays a big role in that. particularly this stuff called bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. You see, the problem is LDL cholesterol is very susceptible to damage in our circulation. And when it gets damaged, it gets deposited underneath that thin layer of cells called the endothelium. Then you have little waxy streaks to begin with, but white blood cells go in there to get those damaged LDL particles because they're very toxic. And after a while, you get this buildup of LDL damaged particles and white blood cells. It's very inflammatory, and blood wants to clot on it. And when the blood clots there, you get things like heart attacks and strokes. So LDL damage is not a good thing. The two things that damage our LDL the most are those free radicals that we've talked about and this stuff called homocysteine. Homocysteine is an amino acid in our blood, but it's a toxic amino acid, and we have to keep it under control. We want its level to be quite low, and high levels are associated with disease. In fact, homocysteine is an independent marker of the integrity of nutrition, and it is an independent marker of your probability of death from any cause whatsoever. That makes it very important. So researchers in Australia and in Italy on diverse populations looked at the impact of Juice Plus on homocysteine levels and substantiated that Juice Plus significantly lowers homocysteine levels. Now, theoretically, if you can significantly lower homocysteine levels, you can significantly decrease your probability of death from any cause. Now, another aspect of physiology, obviously, is human pregnancy. That circulation in the placenta for the growing baby is just as critical, if not more critical, than our standard circulation. You see, the blood vessels have to be flexible and responsive. They have to bring in more oxygen, more nutrition, take away more waste products. But oxidative stress in the placenta causes spasm of those blood vessels, can even cause blood clots in the placenta. And that leads to a thing called preeclampsia, or the crisis, the worst crisis of pregnancy, toxemia of pregnancy, an obstetrical emergency for both mother and child. Recognizing this, a study was done looking at Juice Plus retrospectively in pregnancies. And it was very conclusive that Juice Plus provided for safer pregnancies and healthier babies. Now, that data is so impressive that the University of Mississippi Medical Center is now engaged in a gold standard research project on several hundred pregnancies to substantiate those results of the retrospective analysis. I sincerely believe when that study is resulted and published, that Juice Plus will become standard of care recommended for all pregnancies. Now, we know that exercise increases our metabolism. That's why we do it. And exercise is good. We should all strive for at least 30 minutes of exercise every day. But increases in metabolism increase oxidative stress, and that's been recognized. So researchers at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, said, let's look at this issue. And they confirmed in a gold standard of research that Juice Plus significantly decreases oxidative stress to proteins in our system that occurs during exercise. Dentists now recognize, and have for many years, that inflammatory changes in the mouth, periodontal health, gingivitis, problems with the crevices, are reflected by inflammatory changes elsewhere in the body. And it's very important. But dentists all over the world have been recognizing that their patients who take Juice Plus have improved periodontal health and less chronic gingivitis. So researchers at the University of Würzburg in Germany are doing the gold standard research on people with those problems to confirm the results of their colleagues that have been noted around the world. Now, we all marvel at the advances in science and diagnosis and treatment and sometimes the cure of cancer. But we also know that there are many people living with cancer. Their quality of life, their nutrition is very important in these cancer survivors. So researchers at MD Anderson and at Wake Forest University are looking at patients with ovarian cancer and with head and neck cancer to see what Juice Plus can do on their physiology to improve the quality of life, nutrition, and the biomarkers in the course of their illness. And notice that the research at Wake Forest University is being funded by the National Institutes of Health independently, the research arm of the federal government of the United States. Consider this. Juice Plus provides for bioavailability of phytonutrients, reduces DNA damage, reduces oxidative stress, protects against the oxidative stress of exercise, enhances weak immune systems, lowers homocysteine, and protects the circulation. Now consider that influence on your individual physiology today, tomorrow, and the next day, next week, month after month, year after year after year, and realize that except for Juice Plus, nothing else available any place in the world, with or without a prescription, can do that. You see, you can't do prevention in a month. Prevention requires long-term commitment. Now think of the quality, the integrity, and the reputation of the institutions doing research with brand name Juice Plus. And consider, if there was a problem with Juice Plus the company or with Juice Plus the product, they would not be involved with that research. You see, their reputation is very important to them, and you are known by the company that you keep. Now, speaking of company that you keep, I want to introduce you to some doctors. Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld, one of America's most trusted physicians, into the homes of millions of American families every Sunday morning as the medical columnist in Parade magazine. And when he published his patient advocacy book, Power to the Patient, Timely and Important, he was featured on the cover of Parade magazine. In 30 years of patient advocacy, the only product he has ever mentioned by brand name is Juice Plus. Dr. William Sears, arguably best-known pediatrician in the world. His website, AskDrSears.com, one of the most visited informational medical websites on the internet. He's been recommending Juice Plus to friends, families, colleagues, and patients for years. He's chairman of the board of the Juice Plus Children's Research Foundation, which is making a difference in the real world, in the homes of families in 14 countries around the world. Dr. Titus Duncan, the busiest surgeon in Atlanta, internationally renowned as an educator and as an innovator of laparoscopic surgery. He's the most visible surgeon in Atlanta because he's currently the president of the Atlanta Medical Association, and he is the television commentator every Thursday morning on Fox 5 News. He's the only man in the world to ever remove a gallbladder on a patient in South Africa, while he, the surgeon, was in Atlanta, Georgia, using robotic surgery and satellite transmission. Dr. Duncan recommends Juice Plus to his patients preoperatively to improve surgical outcomes and postoperatively to maintain health after the surgery has occurred. Dr. Gerald Tultzer, professor of pediatric cardiology, University of Vienna in Austria. He's been recommending Juice Plus to friends and families, patients, and colleagues for many years. He is the first man in the world to ever operate on the heart of an unborn baby. During this pregnancy, a condition was diagnosed with the heart which was known to be fatal, incompatible with life. She was 8 inches long, weighed 1 pound. When he did this first ever operation, her heart was the size of a grape. 4.5 years later, there's Johanna. These famous, internationally renowned doctors know the science of nutrition. They understand the science of nutrition. They understand the quality of the research behind Juice Plus. And they understand there's a paradigm shift to not only diagnose and treat disease, but to participate in the prevention of disease. You see, it's the vision and the concept of concentrated whole food nutrition in capsule form. And it is the quality of the research that exists and the dedication to continuing gold standard research in the years to come. And it is the involvement of multiple reputable healthcare providers around the world. And it is the dedication of independent distributors making a difference by adding value to patients' lives with health and prevention. That is the power behind Juice Plus. Thank you very much.